It's April 4th, 2022, and tonight we're talking about the season of Easter, including who has the best fish and chips in Windsor-Essex, and what one man did in Kingsville that has authorities hopping mad, and it has to do with Easter. Plus, we'll also talk about growing greenhouses here in Windsor-Essex, and are we ready for the economic boom that is coming to Windsor over the next couple of years? The Arms Bumanlag project starts right now. Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for spending some time with me on this April 4th, 2023. This is episode 104 of the Arms Bumanlag Project. If you're joining us live in the stream this evening, we are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, as always. And you can catch up on past episodes by checking out my YouTube channel and anywhere you stream your podcasts. We are on Apple Podcasts and we are on Amazon Music. You name it, you can access it. Just find Arms Bumanlag Project in that search bar. Hey, lots to get to tonight. Hopefully you've had a pretty good start to the month of April. One of the things I wanted to talk about tonight on the show is something that had come up this past weekend. April Fools was on a Saturday. And if you are like me, you've had your fair share of jokes played on you. Maybe you've played some jokes. I don't know. I feel like the older that I'm getting through the years, I just don't want to say bah humbug to it, but certainly it's one of those things where, I don't know, sometimes it gets a bit cringy for me. Listen, the Humane Society had an awesome prank. You got to check it out for yourself if you haven't had a chance to see it. It's up on the Humane Society's Facebook page too. Social media is filled with all these different announcements of fake news stories. It is what it is. I've always said the best pranks are the pranks that you can do that don't put the spotlight on you. They put the spotlight on some pressing issue in the community. Back on the days on AM 800, we used to do quite a few pranks that really resonated with our audience. I think one year we did an announcement that the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel was actually going to turn into a car wash. So you go through the tunnel and you get your car washed as well. Another year we did a format change for AM 800 and what that would mean. We were putting in, I think, some new rock. At that point, we were doing some 89X on AM 800 too, which was I would say well received from the public, so to speak. But yeah, you don't ever want to just say something like an announcement, but you just want to focus it on something that would maybe resonate with people in their day-to-day lives, especially here in the community. So, April Fools is a funny thing. So many people put so much time and energy into doing something productive. You may want to just kind of do something that may materially benefit the world, or just don't do anything at all. I still believe that abstaining entirely would still be sort of a net positive over the draining resources and sort of mental energy for April Fools. I don't know. That's just me. I debated over the last several years to put something on my social media, but I'm like, yeah, it's good. It's April Fools. I think most people get the gig. I don't know. If you're a fan of April Fools, that's just my 2 cents, but it was this past Saturday. Nothing really resonated with me. Nothing that was like, oh my God, this is hilarious, or could this be true? But there were some good ones by some national brands that were out there. Some believable news stories as well. One news story that I thought was entirely interesting is something that had been coming across my desk over the last little bit, and something that I've been talking about, honestly, a lot. And it is the economic boom that Windsor is going to be receiving. And, I've said many times here on the show, I still believe in my heart of hearts that the media will skew bad news because that's how you get clicks. That's how you get eyes on the prize, unfortunately, in today's world. But I will give kudos when kudos is due. The Windsor Star had a phenomenal article published about a day ago. And they were talking about how much we would be experiencing in terms of an economic boom here in the Windsor-Essex area. And then they had a follow-up article about those massive new investments on the horizon. So many of us in the sector of real estate and so many of us in the sector of new builds and new homes and things have been telling people, the Windsor area, Windsor-Essex County may be on the cusp, we firmly believe, enjoying a start of a renaissance of our fortunes, something that really we haven't seen in a long, long time here within the Windsor-Essex area. But that'll allow us, I think, to climb out of an economic hole that we are slowly trying to claw our way out of. Because the Fraser Institute, this is a public policy think tank. They looked at the economic performance right here in southwestern Ontario from 2005 to 2019. So this is a period in which the Windsor region, the median income for folks here in Windsor, fell 7.1%. That's dropping it from 11th place in Canada to 33rd. That is a massive drop in terms of the median income. So the Fraser Institute goes on to say the study showed that a period for Ontario was broadly of lower growth than other provinces. That pain wasn't necessarily shared evenly. Southwestern Ontario had some of the lowest income growth in the entire country. People really struggled in the region. And the report goes on to say that it was one of the most prosperous areas in the country. It dropped to the lower third in the rankings. Now, in 2019, the Windsor's area median wage was $57,840. London's about $2,000 higher than that at $59,510. Now, a word if that is gross or net income. But this Windsor census of the metropolitan area, that also includes Lakeshore, Tecumseh, LaSalle, and Amherstburg. That was one of two areas in Canada that's seen a drop in median income. The other region was the technology hub of Kitchener-Waterloo. That had a drop of 1.3%. However, for Windsor, manufacturing was very important in terms of what happened with that drop. So they're saying with the new hospital on the horizon, with the Gordie Howe Bridge well underway, and with the battery plant coming to town as well. If you've been out there, it's pretty incredible to see the work that's been done. It's been a historical snapshot, I guess, that particular data from 2005 to 2019 of a challenging time right here in the Rose City. I took a look at the auto industry and the local medium income levels impacted by retirees and young families moving to the area because of the affordability. So over the next little bit, it will be very interesting to see how much we will continue to grow. And I don't think that study reflects what's happening in Windsor now and what's going to come down the pipe, especially with the construction industry. We have a steadily growing population. I don't think anybody can debate that with the amount of people coming to the region. But are we ready? I would hope so. The Windsor-Essex County Association of Realtors petitioned City Council in Windsor to push through more building starts for homes. On average, they're approving, I believe I saw an article about 600 homes, and we need double that. We need about 1,300 a year to match the influx of people coming into the region over the next little bit. So, the writing's on the wall for where I think we need to be here locally within Windsor and Essex County too. So are we ready? I don't know if we are entirely ready to go, but it will be extremely interesting to see how this goes and how we play out over the next little bit. I don't know. I still think that the housing market is going to rebound. I mean, right now it's been relatively slow. It's been a little bit quiet, especially comparable to the last couple of years, but I think it's just the cusp of things coming down the pipe. And you can see that development happening all over the place, especially I'll reference Tecumseh again. If you've been down Tecumseh and Manning Road over the last little bit, you have seen the amount of commercial business that has been popping up in that corridor along Manning Road and County Road 22, otherwise known as the EC Road Expressway. So very interesting to see what will be happening over the next little bit and whether or not we get to see what's going to be coming down the pipe. I hope we're ready. I think we'll be ready. If you're ready or not, we do have an amazing event that's coming up over the next little bit. Speaking of getting people ready for things that are around the corner, one of our signature fundraisers is coming up for the Windsor-Essex County Humane Society. This is going to be a ton of fun. We're back for year number 3 at Sutton Creek. We've been talking about Putts for Paws. If you're a golfer, this is one of the premier golfing tournaments to be involved in within Windsor and Essex County. But it's all about our sponsors. It's all about our supporters. And take a look at what's happening with this year's big event. And that'll be coming up in the month of September. What does it mean to you when you get home from a long day and your animals greet you? How does that make you feel?
It's a total stress reliever. Our dogs are like children. 99% of the time, they just want to be loved. They want to sit by your side and they want to enjoy your evening. And that's what we truly enjoy, is coming home and spending time with them.
As the society continues to grow and expand over the next decade, events like Putts for Paws are so crucial so we can relay the good work that is being done on the building on Provincial to the community on a daily basis. Everyone from our medical staff to our adoption staff to our outreach staff, our fundraising staff, finance staff, we do amazing work and critical work in the community, and we cannot continue to do what we do without the support of generous supporters like M&M Food Market and all of the sponsors that made this year's event another sellout, must-attend golf outing.
Thousands of animals come through our doors every year, and events like this really help us to take care of them. Sometimes that's providing medical care, behavior assistance, or just helping them get to stay with their families that love them.
Charity that's near and dear to both our hearts. I wanted to step up a little bit more because of what the good work that you do, and I have to actually thank our head office because they were instrumental in supporting this endeavor and making it even a bigger event.
We're so grateful. On behalf of everyone at the Humane Society, including Murphy, we want to say thank you to everyone who supports events like this.
Pretty awesome event, and we would love to see you out at Sutton Creek. We'll be returning for 2023, the Putts for Paws, and yes, we do have animals on the course. That'll be coming up at the end of September 2023. So if you want to be involved, if you'd like to book your foursome, book a tea time, or better yet, become a sponsor and make actionable change with a charity here in the Windsor-Essex County area that is 100% about the animals and the families who welcome these homeless animals into their homes, you can get a hold of me anytime. You can message me on social media, or you can email me directly, arms@windsorhumane.org. Really looking forward to hitting the links. I do golf in it. I don't golf well. I have fun in the tournament, and I'll be golfing with some fantastic supporters of the Humane Society this year, ahead of what is going to be an very, very exciting Christmas season, I think, 2023. And shame on me for saying Christmas in April, but it'll be here before you know it. So again, if you'd like to get involved, we would love to have you a part of the big tournament, which will be coming up on in September 2023. Just email me, arms@windsorhumane.org. Still to come here on the show, we've got a couple of things to get to, including greenhouse growth. We were talking about the expansion here in Windsor and Essex County with the economic uptick of the big major infrastructure projects that are coming to town that have already started, shovels in the ground, that are going to be hitting shovels into the ground. Where does the greenhouse sector fall in all of this? There's some amazing work that is being done in the county, and we're going to talk to the folks at Nature Fresh Farms. It was part of my series of tech talks with We Tech Alliance, and I had a chance to connect with one individual who is just so well known in the greenhouse sector for R&D, research and development. We'll get to that in the next couple of minutes here on the show. Matt from Nature Fresh Farms is going to join us in that interview in just a few moments. But again, Easter weekend just on the horizon too. And one of the topics that we had put on social media was to talk about this delicious dish that so many of us will dive into this upcoming weekend. And we're talking about fish and chips. A lot of folks for Good Friday will venture out or even make their fish and chips at home as well. I always like to poll people and find out who's got the best fish and chips here in the Windsor-Essex area. So I did an impromptu poll up on our Facebook page earlier this evening, asking you to nominate a particular place for fish and chips. And if you've got a suggestion, feel free to chime in here on the show as well. one of the best areas that had gotten a lot of response on who has the best fish and chips in Windsor was the Bearded Dog Brewing Company in Harrow. I have not been there yet. I would like to check that out. Oma said that on our Facebook page. Rebecca says Stephen Eddie's. Can't go wrong with that. Tom says Gilligan's. Got to try their perch arms. Way to go with that. Sir Cedric's from Lorraine. I've had Sir Cedric's before. It is phenomenal. Lita says Chuck's Roadhouse. Wouldn't think Chuck's for fish and chips, but Lita says go ahead and try that out. And then, of course, this is sort of a Windsor staple for fish and chips. And I think one of the busiest places for the delectable dish at this time of year, which would be Pat and Hank's from Korean. So, yeah, a couple of great suggestions there. I don't know. Last year, I tried to do fish and chips myself, and I thought it was okay. Carrie didn't really care for it. My wife has some discerning tastes when it comes to food, but I don't think Liam really minded it either. But I don't know. I think I'm going to break down and spring for some fish and chips, but you better place your orders, I think, early because places are going to be very busy this Good Friday. Kildare House, Omaggio's Kildare House, another great place in Old Walkerville for fish and chips as well. So if you want to comment on that, look for that post on my social media, and please share your thoughts on the best fish and chips here within the Windsor and Essex County area. Now, before we get to our big feature interview for tonight, wanted to share a couple of comments that are rolling in this time on LinkedIn. Karen talking about April Fool's, cringy or for a good laugh. She says, Arms, I cut out the letter E from brown construction paper and told my students I'd made them brown E's. After all, we had a good laugh about the brown E's, and I gave out real homemade brownies. That is brilliant. And I am remiss to say that Liam's teacher at his school also sent Liam home with a brown E, which then he promptly gave to his mother, who we all had a pretty good chuckle about. So kudos to you. I mean, that's the kind of good fun that can happen. Kind of translating that at school, the kids can do something fun at school, and then they bring it home. So thank you, Karen, for that lovely comment coming in from LinkedIn this evening. Now, just before we get to our interview, we talked about growth here on the show and all the different things that are going to be coming down the pipeline over the next little bit. Windsor is probably best known for being the engine of Ontario's auto sector, but not that far from the Rose City is the farms of Essex County, another major exporter that has grown rapidly in the past decade. Ontario's greenhouse vegetable growers. They are everywhere. Working in Leamington and Kingsville for about 2 years, I saw it firsthand. And it's incredible to see the innovation, the research, and I guess the passion of these folks who essentially provide so much of the vital vegetables and in some cases fruit that not only Ontario needs, but Canada needs, making up a massive portion of Canada's greenhouse sector overall. Last year, Statistics Canada reported that Ontario is home to more than 60% of all greenhouses in the country. Though not all of that is actually right here in our own backyard of Windsor-Essex. The province's greenhouse sector now boasts that the cluster of growers in the Southwest is second only to the Netherlands, surprisingly, in terms of total glassed-in area. And that is going to continue to grow here in Windsor-Essex. In our backyard, where I broadcast from, Amherstburg, Ontario, we continue to see different development in terms of greenhouses here in our town. That greenhouse sector also growing rapidly and expanding by more than 40 million feet, or about 28%. And that happened to be between 2016 and 2021. But the big question is, how are we positioning our role to meet the demand of a growing population? I talked about that influx of all those major projects that are coming down the pipeline for Windsor-Essex. How does greenhouses and factor into that? And what is sort of the research and development that they're doing to meet that need? I had a chance to speak with somebody at Nature Fresh Farms and Matt Korpan, who does a ton of work with R&D, talks a little bit about what we can see over the next little bit in terms of development and what they're doing at Nature Fresh Farms to make sure that happens here locally.
Yeah, there's been a lot of change in our industry. Horticulture in general, our knowledge of plants, our knowledge of robotics and AI and data and sensors, the cost of the technology is decreasing significantly. So we're able to use that knowledge and that data in order to grow better crops, healthier crops, safer crops, fewer chemicals. There's a lot happening here, and it's quite exciting. So post-pandemic, the pandemic was tough on everybody. We know that, and the same on the horticultural sector when it comes to labor issues. But technology is really allowing us to do more with a whole lot less.
One thing I've seen in the news and something that has been interesting to me is just the different ways of, I guess, innovation that continue to develop out of the AG industry, including hydroponic growing and vertical growing. Can you tell us a little bit more about how technology has sort of influenced both of those?
Yeah, so everything from LED lights, obviously when it comes to vertical growing, it's a newer way of growing. People have dabbled in it for years, and there's still a lot of questions as to whether it's viable economically or not. But LED lights, give off a lot less heat than the standard lighting that we would use in the past. So we can put more lights and get more production when it comes to indoor and vertical growing. There's not a lot of that happening in our area, even in the province. It is happening, but it's not really caught on quite as heavily as the greenhouse industry, the expansion on that end.
You talk about something that continues to grow. I mean, in every sector, I see it even from the real estate side, is drone work. It seems that drones continue to sort of give people eyes in the sky and give a different view of things that we would never have seen even like 15 years ago. So drones are, from what I understand, an important part of the AG sector as well, Matt.
Yeah, exactly. So vision technology, it can be as a part of a drone. It can be on other pieces of equipment as well. But we now have the ability and the technology where we can go through the greenhouse, send robots into the crop, and they can assess the fruit size, the level of production. They can even be used to find bugs and make gather data on a much larger scale than we could before, just by having a grower walk through the crop or having a few sensors in the greenhouse. So that whole vision technology is really coming a long way, and it's not just for seeing things, but now we're also using it to be able to use that for, let's say, harvesting robots that now can assess the color of a fruit, pick the ones that need to be. And there's technology out there as well where it doesn't have to be bright. We don't need the sunlight in order to do that work. Some of these robots and cameras can do this work in the dark when nobody's at the greenhouse. So there's a lot happening on that end, and I think we're going to see a lot more in a very short period of time.
And one of the stories I've been following from the tech world, from a general perspective, has been, sort of ChatGPT and where that's going to go from a marketing standpoint, from a creative standpoint too. And speaking of AI, how much does AI continue to grow with the AG industry and really blossom into what you guys are trying to pull off in a day in and day out basis?
We have seen in the past, it's been discussed, we all know this in the greenhouse industry, that we collect loads of data, but using that data really becomes a struggle. What do we do with it? We've got sensors all over the place collecting hundreds of data points every minute, every second. But then what do we do with that data? So getting that intelligence, that artificial, that machine technology out there that can gather all of this data and allow us to be able to use that in a way that can produce these better crops. And not even better crops. My role here is leading the research and development in our greenhouse business. We are a greenhouse builder and fabricator as a part of South Essex Fabricating. We're also a grower and marketer on the Nature Fresh farm side of things. So not just can we do better with what we have, but what new things can we do? Can we bring new crops in? I'm standing here in our raspberry trial, and how can we grow raspberries and produce that typically is shipped in from a long ways away, California, Mexico, Florida. Can we now grow those things here? And I wish I could bring you into the greenhouse and show you what we're doing here, because it's not just berries, raspberries, blackberries, strawberries. Those kind of are the next big things coming down the pipe. But we've got papayas, we've got tropical fruits, apples, peaches. It's really to see what is possible. Shorter the distance between the grower and the retailer or the customer. So a lot of moving parts there, but I think we're going to see this data and AI be used in new ways to expand on the knowledge that we already have about crops.
It's funny you should say that, Matt. So I guess I mean I'm just as you're talking, I'm thinking about when I go every Sunday I go grocery shopping with my son, and I always like, oh well, this isn't in season, this isn't in season. But I mean, from it sounds like that won't be an issue. Hopefully down the road, as things for certain crops are going to be available, hopefully year round and grown right here locally under the right conditions with the help of technology.
That is the idea for sure. Some of that could be indoor and vertical growing. Some of that could just be in the greenhouse environment. But understanding what is possible and making sure that things are available. Food security is always a hot topic, and especially in the winter months. What is available? We've heard stories or seen stories of grocery store shelves without things, with bare shelves, and we know that we've got the ability and the technology to change that, and I think you're going to see that happening a lot more.
You talked about the fabrication side of things too, and having that sort of synergy between the two companies as well, just from the growing perspective and then the building perspective, and then being on the cutting edge of R&D, which is so crucial. What kind of demands? I mean, you talked about food insecurity, but I mean, are you forecasting, or there's some general forecasting going on about meeting the need? I'm not even talking from a global scale. I'm even saying just here locally in Windsor-Essex. Through this podcast series, I've been talking to my guests about the fantastic news for Windsor. I'm like, I'm a Windsor guy myself, born and raised. I don't think I've seen or even heard the amount of investment that is coming to town in the region over the next 5 to 10 years, from the hospital to the bridge to the battery plant, and this influx, I think, again, from the real estate side, that we're expecting of all these people to come to town. What are you hearing? What kind of plans, if any, are being put into place to sort of meet that need, and I guess meet that need even from a national perspective in terms of the growing population that we're going to see maybe in the next 15 to 20 years?
Well, and that's the beauty of our controlled environment agriculture, is that we are in control of the conditions. The technology for lighting has come a long ways. We've got heat. We can add or take away heat to the greenhouse, add CO2. We can give fertilizer, nutrients as the plant needs it. So it really, the location is having less to do with it, as long as the utilities are there. But we, I think one of our big shortages is labor. Like you said, there's a lot happening in Windsor-Essex with battery plants and the auto industry and other things happening. The greenhouse industry is growing very, very quickly, and getting the people to be able to manage the crops and do the work is getting more difficult as time goes on, which is where data, AI, robotics, automation really plays a part in here. And I think one thing that often goes unseen, the greenhouse industry here, depending on how you measure it, on how you run the numbers, but we are as big as the auto industry in our province, and certainly the attention gets put on the auto industry. They've got big names and unions and other things, and they do some great work. So not to take away from that, but the greenhouse industry is large, very large, and is expected to grow significantly. So one thing that we look at as a part of our R&D work as well is how can we meet those needs? How can we bring people in to our industry? So working with universities, colleges, but even down to the high school and elementary level. Get kids in the greenhouse, show them what's possible. I think a lot of people don't understand that growing plants in a greenhouse isn't just farming. The automation, HR, computers, mechanics, there's a whole side of things that aren't directly related to plants and fertilizer, that those needs need to be met for us as well. So I think it's a challenge for us, but I think it's exciting as well. As you said, there's a lot happening in our area, and Leamington being the largest acreage of greenhouses in North America, is quite an exciting part or industry to be a part of.
Yeah, thank you so much to Matt. I appreciate his time and everything that he does for the greenhouse industry. Always a good conversation to have with him, and to find out all the advancement that is happening at that local level here in Essex County. So very cool stuff, and some pretty cool advancements in terms of technology that are happening in the agricultural sector here in the Windsor-Essex area. Just before we wrap up the show this evening, and if you're listening to us after the fact on our podcast channels, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Don't forget, we've got a brand new show Think of HGTV meets Essex County. That'll be debuting later on this week. So, who do you trust when it comes to home renovations, healthcare needs, even leisure opportunities? Well, it's easy. You can refer to some of the experts that I have on call. I'll be launching a brand new podcast series called Ask an Expert that'll be debuting this Friday, April 7th, here on social media. And my first guest to kick off this series of local businesses and organizations that are 100% local and doing some amazing, incredible work here in the Windsor-Essex area is Krista Dufour. Krista is a registered dental hygienist, and she's the owner of Dufour Dental Hygiene and Go Smile, which is a mobile oral healthcare service. And they've been doing some incredible work during the pandemic, getting into long-term care homes and providing dental cleaning and oral hygiene to seniors in those settings. So we'll hear a little bit more about her business and what she's been doing along with her team to get into the community and addressing a need. And that'll be happening this Friday on our social media channels for Ask an Expert. So local, trusted, and relatable. These are some of the folks who are excellent at what they do right across all sorts of different sectors. And you'll be seeing more and more of these businesses pop up here on my Facebook page and on social media channels as we progress through 2023. Happy to do this. These little shows are going to be phenomenal to get into the community and find out who do you trust, who do you go to for certain needs and wants when it comes to home renovation or, again, your personal healthcare needs, like Krista on my show this Friday. So that'll be happening Friday, April 7th here on social media. Okay, folks, that's going to do it for this edition of The Project. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back with this show on the 18th, so 2 weeks from now, and we'll be talking about a huge topic, something that I have been playing around with over the last month and a half, ChatGPT. Where does it go? Why you should be not necessarily concerned, but interested in this, and how it can help your bottom line if you have a business or looking to supplement your existing workforce. My guest is an expert in the field, and he's developed some interesting technology to coincide with ChatGPT here locally, and we'll talk to him on the 18th. In the meantime, have a fantastic Easter weekend. Thank you for listening and watching. Don't forget to reach out anytime on social media and get a hold of me for the latest here in Windsor-Essex. Thanks for watching.